There's a good plan.
I couldn't ride with my dad, but I would follow him occasionally. And
Okay, let's get started. Yes, go ahead.
And in the middle of the afternoon on Highway 8.
Go ahead.
Hold
Hold on 1 second. Someone's talking, so I can't hear you.
It's not related to this. The principle of
It's Mother's Day. You're supposed to be
1
nice
second.
to
1 second. Someone who said that you're supposed to be nice to her because it's Mother's Day is still talking, so I still can't hear you. She happens to be related. Okay, go ahead.
We shared DNA.
That's one attitude.
Which is kind of scary because that means I shared with her father.
all right. So the principle ase doche lo sase.
Yes.
What are examples of that?
What are examples of
She's just diving right in.
Okay, esed means positive.
Because we were
Positives override negatives. So, anybody would like to hazard a guess as to where we have that? Like maybe yesterday in Shul at about 11:30.
Were positives override
Bris?
negatives?
Yeah. Bris on Shabbos. We just had one.
Right.
perfect. Okay, because we came up with carbon Pesach on Shabbos Erev Pesach. We're trying to come up with some. That was the only one anybody could come up with. All right, thanks.
Oh gosh. Okay. There's lots. There's lots of them. Tzitzis can be made of wool and linen. The Big Day Kahuna are made of wool and linen, which would be shatnez. There is a discussion if yibum is as well, because normally it would be prohibited for a man to marry his brother's widow, but with mitzvah of yibum that's allowed. Long the Gemara about that, whether that's Derech Hashem say. All of the karbanos that were done in the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos, daily karbana, the carbon musaf by definition, right, which is brought on Shabbos, right? So yeah, there's lots of things.
Exceptions to the rule.
Awesome.
They're not
Okay,
exceptions,
thank
not
you.
at all. No, they are. This is the rule. The rule is that a positive overrides a negative.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions to that rule.
Oh, okay.
Not every positive overrides every negative, right? So, for example, you can't drive in a car on Shabbos to get to shul, right? So there's lots of rules as to when exactly that applies, but there are plenty of instances in which it does.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
That was helpful.
sure.
All right, so can you give a summary of the last?
The last 6 classes.
It was only 2. I only missed 2.
Okay.
It was only 2. Are they posted?
I don't remember how far I got or close. Last week's is not. The one before that probably is though.
I didn't actually check. I'm just
Right.
messing with
Right. I'm aware.
you. No, it's not like you track my my
The
whatever.
views, I do.
The views, but you don't know by who.
Yeah, when there's 0 views, I know that you didn't watch it.
Come in. Michelle's here.
Okay. All right. So let us begin. All right. So, where are we up to over here?
322, 323.
Okay. All right. So, what we talked about last week was that Shemona Esrei has 3 sections. Davening is split up into 3 sections, and then there's this 4th aspect, which is in Shemona Esrei as well. It's in davening as well, and these are connected to Avnei Yitzchak and Yaakov, and they're connected to the attributes of Chesed, Rachamim, and Din, kindness, mercy, and justice. And we talked about how the whole davening is really designed to prepare for Shemona Esrei, and it's all connected. And through that davening, we're able to bring down the Shefa into this world. Now, we talked about how the let's see. 1 second. Did we do this part already?
You're not gonna ask us?
I'm gonna ask. I just don't remember which is the stuff I just prepared and which is the stuff we actually did together.
We talked about the definitions of the worlds.
Yeah. Where we started from. We
were in
did
the middle of
11.
320,
I think so.
We
and then
did.
now we're in the middle of like.
We did 11 and
323.
12 last week.
Yeah.
No, they
Yes.
that's their
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Okay.
started
They put things on.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we're at the top. We're middle of 323.
All right. So we talked about how there are 3 levels of shefa and how everything begins in the karchas and then travels down through the various the various channels, and how we have a name of Hashem that has 3 letters, and it's connected to that. We didn't really get into exactly how that works. That's certainly not within the scope of what we're covering. But everything works through that system. And that's all part of the phrases we use in Shemona Esrei and the connections to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And then we have David, who was that 4th element that was kind of connected to that. Not exactly the same, but certainly connected. And then we talked about how Shabbos is different than the weekend, which is why on Shabbos, because the power of Shabbos itself brings the Shefa, so we don't need to go through these specifics. Which is why in Shemona Esrei on Shabbos, we just have the 3 introductory brachos, which are dealing with the general channels of Shefa. And then we have one single bracha instead of the usual 15 or whatever it is, which will work together with the power of Shabbos itself, or Yantif, to actualize the rest of the Shefa without needing to go through all the specifics as we do during the week. What else did we talk about? All right, so then we talked about how the worlds are split into parts. So we have this world, the Olam Hazeh, this world that we're in, which has the physical and the spiritual. Then we have and that's all called one. In other words, it's one world that's split into 2 elements. He calls it the land and the heavens, which is basically the physical and the spiritual. And then we have, that's all one world. And then we have the world of the angels, which is above our world. And then we have the world of the kaichas, which are the sources. That's where the Shefa first is channeled through from Hashem. And that is what he called the Olam HaKisei, the world of the throne of Hashem. And then there's Hashem himself, he's obviously in his own realm altogether. So that's really what we covered. Right. So then we talked about how it was a borrowed term, right? We did get into that, right? Went into how that's a borrowed term? No? No, we didn't?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's get into that. All right, yeah, I'm sorry. I usually prepare Sunday morning, but today, because of Mother's Day and a couple of other things that were going on, I didn't actually go back to see what we had done last week. So
you're blaming your wife?
I'm not blaming my wife.
For
I'll tell her you were, though, if you like. Because that's what it sounds like, because I didn't. Okay. All right. It's recorded, by the way.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I can't blame her. I was defending her because she's awesome.
Nice defense there. Don't go into law. All right. So what we talked about was, all right. So let's start again. Let's just read again from the beginning of 13. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. So in addition, you have to know the worlds are split into 4. V'hainu, and they are Olam Hazeh, which is this world, B'shnei Chalakav, which itself has 2 parts, Elyon v'Tachton. Elyon v'Tachton, the upper and the lower, Shehem, which are Hachelek HaShemaymi, the part that's the heavens, V'nikra Olam HaGalgalim, and that's called the world of the wheels or the cycles, V'hayasaidi, and then that is the core, that's the main thing. Which is down here in this world, the physical, and this is called the lower world. And those 2 parts combined make up our world as we know it. That's one world. So again, this world, which is made up of the physical and the spiritual. Then we have Al Ha'olam Hazeh, and on top of this world, Yesh Olam HaMalachim. There's the world of the Malachim. V'alav, and then above that world is Olam HaKochos Al-Yanim. That's the world of the upper Kochos. Sharoshe Habriyos, which are the roots of creations. Shezacharnu, the creation that we've already learned much about back in the first section. V'nikra Olam HaKisei, this is also called the world of the throne. Okay, so those are the things we discussed last week. Now above this, in the next level, is Yibachin Klal Hashpa'osav Yisbarach. We have all of the different shefa that comes from Hashem. Gilui Oiroi, the shine of Hashem's light. Shemehem Nimshachin Kolam Etziyos Kulam, from which all existence emanates. Everything comes from Hashem's light, and it goes through this world of the throne, which is the Kochos, which are the roots, as we've discussed already many times. And all existence is dependent on these Kochos, because that's where everything is sourced. As we learned way back in the third section, chapter 2. Okay, so Vihine. Al Derech Hashem.
Nice to be here.
Nikra Leklal Kol HaShpois Eila Elam Echad. Now, it's really a borrowed term to say that this world is a world, V'nikra'eu Olam Ha'elekus, and we'll call it the world of godliness. Okay, so this basically means that it's not its own in the same way the others are their own. And let me just keep reading until we finish the paragraph. Actually, the paragraph plus, and then we'll go back and explain it. Okay, let's just get all the words here. So he continues. V'amna, hine tire, you will see, she'ein shayach bo shem zeh el al derech ha'shalom, that this phrase, the name, the title of world, is really only applied to this in a borrowed sense. As we've just mentioned. And we will explain the reason. As opposed to the other three. Because for those, it actually does make sense to call them worlds. So Hashem's, quote, world is not actually an accurate term to use as a world, but we're going to use that and he'll explain why we're using it and why it doesn't really fit. But the term does fit for the lower three worlds. Okay, so let's explain. Vizat, and says, because this world is called a gathering, or the term world is defining something in which you've gathered lots of different things, in different existences, in a particular space. And they're split up in lots of different delineations. And they relate to each other in different relations. And with all of these different existences, whether they are physical or spiritual, this applies. This makes sense. And that's how we can call this world a world. Because this world is a gathering of physical bodies. Or spiritual bodies in a particular place. And the world of the angels, of the malachim, is also called an olam. Because that's also a place in which all the different malachim are contained, they're gathered in this place, which is called a world. Whatever that means, however that applies to them. In the world of the throne, olam, that's also called a world. Because that is the place in which all the different kachas are gathered. That's where they exist. In this place called the world of the Kachos, the world of the Kisei. Okay. However, Hashba'oitz of Yisbarach, Hashem's Shefa, Hine Einam Atzamim Merubim V'Netzon Shonim Klal. They are not lots of different existences or different things that are different. Aval Havchonais Heim, they are simply delineations of one. The Hemine Gilei Or Mimenu Yisbarach, and they are just different visions. They're different expressions of the light of Hashem. She'enin Yanim Ela Mashahu Yisbarach Shmai Nimtza L'Briyosah, because it's nothing more than the way Hashem shows Himself to His creations, and He gives them their shefa based on what is appropriate. But since the way this actually is perceived and the way they're delineated comes down in different orders and ways, based on what is suitable for those who are receiving it, because that's where the differences are sourced. So based on all the differences between all the things that exist that need to be the recipients of the shefa, as we learned earlier. Therefore, we can call all of this a world, and we'll consider it something that's above all of the others, because based on the leveling, this is the highest level. Because the whole system all works through this level. Hamuchashim b'malachim, the physical go up to the malachim. Hamalachim masha aleim, and then the malachim for those that are above them. Dahainu akisei madrigasa, which is the throne and its levels. Akisei b'ashba'isa v'yizbarach v'gilei oirei, and then that level goes up to Hashem Himself, His revelation, Shehu Asher Shamiti Lakal, which is actually the source of everything.
But isn't there a realm of malachim that rotate around Hashem, around His presence?
Not exactly. No, nothing actually exists in Hashem's world.
It's just Him.
Now, the thing about it is that world is not really a world, which is exactly what his point is.
So it kind of interacts with each other, but they don't go into Hashem's world.
Right. The thing is that Hashem's world isn't a place.
His light comes down into the other worlds, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're saying here, just to try to simplify this, which is not really a good idea, but what I think he's saying here is that the concept of a world is a location. It's a grounds. It's a confine. It's an area in which something or many things are. Mm-hmm. Hashem doesn't have that. Hashem is not confined by anything. Hashem does not exist within anything. Hashem is, we call Hashem Hamakam. Hashem is the place, right? Baruch Hu Hashem Mekaymei, right? What does that mean? Hashem is the place, the Hu Mekaymei Shel Olam. Hashem is the place of the world, meaning something's place means it is existing somewhere, right? So this letter is on this page. So that means that this page is the place of this letter, right? Now this page is on this book, which means that the book is the place of the page, which is the place of the letter. Okay? Now this table is the place of the book, which is the place of the page, which is the place of the letter. Mm-hmm. All right, we can keep going. And we'll go down to the floor, we'll get to the house, we'll get to the ground, we'll get to the city, we'll get to the state, we'll get to the country, we'll get to the earth, and then we'll get to the galaxy, and eventually we're going to run out of places because there's no more places, there's just the universe, right? Now, the thing is that all works until you get to Hashem. Hashem doesn't have a place that He exists within. So on the contrary, the world exists within Hashem. So Hashem is the place of all of creation. And then within that there are all the little different delineations until we get down to the letter that's on the page. right? But Hashem is the place of the world and the place of all the worlds. So therefore, I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, what he's saying is that we can't say that fourth level, which is the highest, is really a world in the typical definition of the term world. Because a world is a place that other things exist within. So that's not applicable to Hashem. So that highest realm, he says, we'll call it a world because we perceive it as a world, because it's where we see all these different things coming from, not physically seeing, but the way we understand that all the shefa, all the existence, everything comes from this, but it's not actually a world. Okay, so I think that's his goal over here. He's saying it's not like the other worlds in the sense that it's the place where multiple things exist, but it is. We can still call it a world because we kind of perceive it as such. We kind of see all the different aspects coming from Hashem to us, and therefore we can kind of see it as a world.
It's easier for us to understand it that way, I think.
So you're saying it's a source, but it's not contained?
Yes.
And that's where the souls exist?
No.
Oh.
The world of souls is one of the... he had said that the world of the souls is a separate place that is kind of in this world. It really is in this world. Now, when I say this world, I don't mean the physical of this world, but the spiritual side of this world. That's the world of the souls.
So that the souls aren't with God up in heaven?
They're not in his world.
So that's not Gan Eden?
Gan Eden is definitely not in another world. That's definitely in this world. Yeah.
So when you say, this is hard, you say the world to come, that still exists within...
So the world to come comes in different parts.
Okay.
Certainly the first part is in this world, yes.
And the second part?
The last part I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about the last part. I'm not sure if the last part, if there might not be this world anymore. There might not even be the world of the Malachim anymore. And I don't know if the world of the Kisei is there anymore. We might be in that second level. Not sure.
I mean, it's a neshama keys.
Oh yeah,
So-
the neshama is definitely a piece of Hashem. That's for
So
sure.
I'm saying, but there's different levels to the neshama too. They reside in different places, in different things. I mean, there's like some parts of the neshama that hover over the grave. There's some parts of the neshama that are in different realms of different things.
Right?
But you would think that the neshama elokis would return to its creator.
It does to an extent. This is really way beyond the topic here of what we're talking about over here. But if a neshama, so to speak, becomes part of Hashem again in the way it was originally, then the individual ceases to exist.
Well, right, because they rejoin with Hashem.
Right. So I don't know that ever happens. Because then you are no longer. Right? So I don't know that happens. It's the way I understood it, which again is way beyond the scope of this discussion, is that we can get ever closer to Hashem but never actually reach Hashem. So there will never be a point in which the neshama is just reincorporated, so to speak. That's how I understand it.
They never have.
Well, then reincarnation.
Reincarnation is all in this world. So we're talking way past this.
Well, no. What I'm saying is like reincarnation. When you're done with your purpose, then you are able to return. I mean, that's the way that I've always.
Again, when you return to Hashem, it doesn't mean that you become one with Hashem. Hashem's oneness is unique in the sense that a person can never become Hashem. It's not possible. Our neshamas are pieces of Hashem, but our neshamas remain separate pieces from Hashem.
Okay.
So the purpose of this life, as we learned back in the beginning of Derech Hashem, is to try to elevate ourselves to the point that we are as close as possible to Hashem. And then once we die, and then after the whole process of the resurrection and the whole process that he had mentioned earlier, the ultimate goal is to become as close as possible to Hashem. And based on the way we lived our lives, that's how close we'll be able to become. But I don't believe there's ever a point at which a person can be reunified with Hashem. I don't think that's a possibility. So yeah, a person can be with Hashem and experience Hashem's closeness even in this world. That's the concept of nevuah, right? Nevuah is an extremely close connection that a person has with Hashem. Doing mitzvahs, learning Torah, these are connections with Hashem. Obviously, once a person is no longer shackled by their physicality, and the neshama is freed of the body, then certainly they can get even closer. And then as we learned, the body itself can be elevated, and then there's the resurrection, which allows the body itself to rise up and become a complement to the spirituality, and the two together are able to come closer to Hashem even than before, and then eventually even that ends, and the two together can ascend to become even closer. But I believe that process is never ending. I believe that process can always continue, but we'll never actually reach a point that we are one with Hashem, as far as I understand it. Okay. All right. Yes. I can't hear you. Let's go. Okay, the volume is up over here. I don't hear you. I don't hear anything. All right, if you can figure out what's going on, feel free to let me know. Okay, so let me just read this paragraph over here on the bottom from Rabbi Naaman. Okay, so he says that when we're talking about this idea that the world of Hashem it's a borrowed term to say that it's a world. So he says as follows: because this realm does not consist of anything that stands apart from Hashem, Chaim Friedlander illustrates with the following example. A carpenter has the talent for building tables. Oh, she's back.
Whoa.
This talent is not something that can be defined as independent of the carpenter. It's an integral part of who he is. However, when he actually builds a table, it stands apart from him. Similarly,
It does.
Why is it sound like she's breathing into the thing?
It sounds like she's growling.
Walks his daughter.
Huh?
Walks his daughter.
I know.
okay. All right. So, where was I here? Again. So a carpenter has a talent for building tables. The talent is not something that can be defined as independent of the carpenter. It's an integral part of who he is. However, when he actually builds a table, it stands apart from him. Similarly, Hashem's hashpa'os, shefa, and attributes are manifestations of his essence, not something separate from him.
Darth Vader coming together?
Through them, he creates forces within the world that are separate from his essence. Okay, so what he's saying here is that the shefa makes things happen, but the shefa itself is Hashem.
It's just like different wavelengths, they are different colors or whatever.
What?
I'm just imagining it like light or sound or.
What do you mean?
That it's all light, but depending on what the wavelength is, it could be different colors. So it's all like part of the rainbow or part of the whatever. But
Yes, that's not the facet we're describing here. We're talking about how the shefa is Hashem himself, but that which it creates is separate, so to speak. Okay.
So it's like a prism.
Again, you guys are both talking about a different aspect, which we did describe, but we're going back now. We're talking about how the carpenter has the talent. Now, the talent itself is not something separate from the carpenter, right? It's intrinsic. But what he does with that talent, what that talent creates, is separate, right? So when he builds a table, the table's not him, but the talent is him. Okay? So the same thing, the shefa is Hashem. It's Hashem's will, it's Hashem's doing. But what that creates, the shefa that itself that actually comes down and makes things, that is considered something which is separate from Hashem.
So the creations of Hashem are in the lower worlds?
The creations are in the lower worlds, yes. Okay.
Along with, and Hashem is everywhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. There was something else here I wanted to read to you. Okay. Yeah, so when we talked about how the Malachim have their world, he says they're in one place the way it applies to them. So what he means with that is that obviously the concept of a physical place doesn't apply to Malachim. Malachim don't live in a physical world and they don't have a physical existence. So certainly they're not bound by a physical place. They certainly don't exist within a place the way we understand places. Okay? I think a better way to visualize this would be if we were to try to describe where thoughts exist. So you can say thoughts exist in your brain, but the reality is they don't actually exist in your brain, right? The brain's a physical thing, a thought is not, right? So the thought doesn't actually exist in your brain, but we kind of call the brain the place where the thoughts are, right? So that's kind of the same idea. When we talk about the place that the Malachim are in, it's not that they're actually confined to a physical place. They don't exist in the physical world. They don't have a physical place. But there is still this boundary, this spiritual space, so to speak, in which they exist, which is where the Malachim are. So when he says, Masha Shaykh Bahem, whatever that means in regards to the Malachim, that's what he means. It doesn't mean that they have like a physical space that they're confined to, but it just means that they exist within their own world, which is, again, not a physical boundary, but it is a realm of sorts.
Didn't Geula say last time it was kind of like the world of the transmission station, something like that?
Yeah, I don't want to get too carried away with details because the specific examples can get misleading. So let's try to leave it as broad as possible. I think it'll be less problematic as we continue through here. So when we're talking about the world of the Malachim, again, you can't picture that as like a physical world, but more think of it as the way your thoughts exist within their own world, right? What is that? It's not a physical place, right? It's just that's where they are. They're in their own realm, right? So that's where the Malachim are, and the same will be true for the next level up for the Kochis as well. Okay. 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 All right. So are we somewhat okay with this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's continue. V'hinei. Chaim. Al pi seder. Al pi seder. Al pi seder ze niskenu chalkei hatfila. Based on this system, the davening was created. Dahainu, meaning, shaloisha chalakim b'tchila, there are 3 parts in the beginning. L'tikun shaloisha ha'ilamos, that are there to correct or to, rectify, fix the 3 worlds, which is Elam Hazah, Elam HaMalachim, Elam HaKiseh. The world of our world, the world of the Malachim, and then the world of the throne. V'zeh b'karbanos zmiros u'berachos kriyashma. This is done through the karbanos, which is the first part of davening, followed by Psukei Zimra, which is the second part of davening, and finally followed by the berachos kriyashma and Shema itself. V'achar kach tfilam umad, and then after that we have the Shemona Esrei, as we call it. V'hu keneged ilma alikus. And this is the connection to that fourth world. Lahamshech hashpois lafi b'chinaseim, to draw down the shefa, each in its different way. V'achar kach shlosh chalakim achim. And once we've done that, we have three more sections. Lahamshech meshech hashefa, to bring the shefa through through all the different worlds, one after the other. Adusayf, till you get to the end. And what are these sections? Haina kedusha de sidra, shir halavim, ve'en kalei, which refer to the kedusha de sidra, which is Uvalatzion, Ashrei Uvalatzion, what we say after Shemona Esrei. Then we have shir halavim, the shir shel yom, the daily song that was sung by the Levim in the Beis Hamikdash, and then Ein Kalei for those who daven Sfard. They say Ein Kalei at this point, at the very end of davening. And after all of that, we say Aleinu. And this way we can king Hashem, so to speak, over all of the worlds once we've gotten all of this shefa. So, what he's said here is a very interesting process, but the idea is that there's a setup.
Sorry, Celeste's toilet.
It's okay.
Get called.
It's okay. There's a
It sounds awful, but it's just the.
There's a setup of worlds, and the davening is set up to correspond to those worlds. So as we've learned, the davening leading up to Shemona Esrei is the preparation for bringing the shefa to the world, and then Shemona Esrei itself is what brings it to the world. And now he's addressing the part after Shemona Esrei, and that is that once that shefa has come, it now needs to be spread through the worlds, and that's done through the parts that follow Shemona Esrei. Okay, so we've already covered before Shemona Esrei, and now we're covering after Shemona Esrei. Okay, so
Wait, what's not clear to me though, like after Shemona Esrei, so you talk about the Kedusha, Elena, all that, does that correspond then to the worlds in opposite?
Mm-hmm.
Or okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Sure.
so let me just read to you over here. He gives a very clear explanation. The kedusha de sidra, referring to the uvalatzion, the kedusha that we say in uvalatzion after Shemona Esrei, that corresponds to Kriyas Shema in its brachos, which also has kedusha, right? In the brachos Kriyas Shema we say kadosh 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 and baruch kavod, and then right before Shemona Esrei we say Hashem Yimlech. So we have those three in the brachos that precede Shema, and we have them in the uvalatzion that is after Shemona Esrei. And this is done by the malachim. The malachim are the ones who say that's kedusha as well, and this is said before Hashem's throne, as it is brought in Yeshayahu and Yechezkel, where it talks about the malachim saying these phrases that we also say. It says them when Hashem's throne was revealed. So we see that this corresponds to the world of the throne.
So all crowning Hashem at the same time, kind of like.
Not necessarily at the same time, but we're doing our thing and they're doing their thing.
But it's the same thing. I mean,
It's the same. We're going through the same thing. Yeah.
Well, the malachim don't stop. They just continue doing whatever they do.
Well, each group has its own time to do its thing and does it at its time, and then they stop. But then there's another group. So yes, it is a continuous process, but each group has its specific time. Okay. So, thus, just as the section of Shema corresponds to the realm of the throne, right before Shemona Esrei, the Kedusha de Sidra of Uvalatzion following Shemona Esrei maintains the continuum of the Shefa in that realm. Then, the Song of the Levim, which is the song of the day, the Shir Shel Yom that we say every day, corresponds to the praises recited during Psukkah de Zimra. And Ein Kelokenu, which also contains a description of the preparation of the daily incense offering, corresponds to the recital of the sections associated with the sacrifices, which begins the prayer service. Okay. Now, the Ramchal in other places does describe in detail how each of these sections of davening connects to that particular world, that particular realm, but obviously that's not something he's getting involved in over here. Okay, now, I don't know why or how this kind of works with Nusach Ashkenaz, which we daven. In Nusach Ashkenaz, we don't have Ein Kilukenu, we don't have the Ketairos at the end of davening. I'm not sure how this whole system that he has is going to work out. According to that approach, we don't say it every day because people are typically in a rush at the end of davening, and the problem is that we mentioned the Ketairos, the incense, and the halacha is that if any one of the spices in the incense is missing, then the person who offers it is liable to the death penalty. So, if we are in a rush and we're saying it and we skip a word, that's a big problem. So that's why in the Ashkenaz we don't say it every day. We say it on Shabbos because no one's going to work. But every day we don't say it. Now, again, I don't know how this is really going to work with Nusach Ashkenaz because it's missing that component. I don't see anybody addressing it in the commentaries.
That's weird.
Okay.
What about, and then they have Eleno in there as well. Where is that?
So
Does that
Eleno.
just kind of like close it all out?
So in Eleno he says, as we read, it's to King Hashem, so to speak, to proclaim Hashem as king after he's given everything. So now we have to have that element of recognizing that it's from him. Just like we said, we have the fourth element of Shemona Esrei, which is Moedim, giving thanks, which is for David HaMelech. So too we have that here too. After the three aspects of bringing the Shefa into the different realms and different worlds, then we have to have that thanks, that recognition that it's coming from Hashem, and that is where Aleinu comes in. Okay, so I think that's all right. So that's the basic gist of it. Now, there's certainly a lot of depth to this. Many of the commentaries point to different works of Ramchal throughout this last section that we just read, and they said that he describes it more here, he describes it more there. So this is a topic that he delves into in much more detail in other works that he wrote, but I think we, for our purposes, are going to leave it at this. To try to get deeper than this is going to require learning whole other books, which I'm not going to do. So we are going to stop here. Thank you all for coming. And if somebody could, please, maybe next Sunday morning before our class, if somebody could please head over to Kroger and see what the Starbucks setup looks like over there on a Sunday morning. It was suggested that might be a good place to meet. So it's something to consider. So somebody could go by there before class next week and just see, is it busy? Is it empty?
Yeah, it's really.
You're sure? Have you been there on a Sunday morning at 9:30?
No, because
Right.
I'm here.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So somebody could please go at 9:30, let's say, and then come straight to class after that. That would be appreciated. So we can get an idea.
Never really full. I mean,
Right, but if there's a lot of
busy,
people
but
walking around, we don't want to be having a class. It's not going to be good.
You're right.
All right, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
makes it convenient because that's where I'm going right now.
Yeah.